So, good day everyone. We are the Group 9 and today we will tackle about the workplace issues, the automation effects, and the career development.
Employee monitoring. Employee monitoring is the practice of employers tracking employee activities such as computer use, emails, location, or social media to ensure productivity, security, and compliance. It is evident in our country because it's more common with remote work and automation tools after COVID-19, especially in BPOs and tech sectors. It's governed by the Data Privacy Act of 2012 or Republic Act 10173, which requires things like transparency, consent, and proportionality to protect workers' rights. This sets the stage for why companies do it and the issues it raises. Moving on to the causes. The first one is productivity enhancement. This is about making sure employees stay focused and reduce downtime, particularly in fast-paced industries. Uh, as the slide says, it ensures employees stay focused during work hours, reducing downtime in high-volume industries. For example, in call centers, AI tools track keystrokes, kung ginagalaw ba yung mouse or yung keyboard or yung screen time nila to measure output. That helps managers see if the targets are met. Also, post-COVID, remote monitoring via software like Microsoft Teams or Zoom Analytics became essential para ma-verify kung nagtatrabaho ba sila during work hours sa place nila. This cost is huge because it directly ties to company efficiency. Next cause is security and compliance. This focuses on protecting sensitive company data from leaks or cyber threats, especially in roles dealing with confidential info. This protects company data from leaks or cyber threats, particularly in sectors handling sensitive information. Just like offices uses CCTV to prevent theft, which is a straightforward for physical security. In financial firms, email scanning ensures compliance with laws like anti-money laundering regulations, catching any risky communications early. Without this, companies could face big fines or data breaches. So it's a key reason for monitoring. Now, preventing misconduct. Here, monitoring helps detect violations like harassment or unauthorized activities that could harm the workplace. As noted on the slide, it detects violations like harassment or unauthorized activities. For instance, companies check social media to avoid posts that could damage their reputation. Parang kapag binabadmouth ng employee yung brand online. Or in logistics, GPS tracking for peak workers ensures they're on route and not misusing company time or resources. This cost is important for maintaining a safe and professional environment. Finally, in the cost section, legal and business needs. This is about keeping contractor obligation or regulatory requirements to keep operations running smoothly. A good example is in BPO companies where they monitor calls for quality assurance to satisfy client standards. If calls aren't up to par, they lose business. In manufacturing, automation tools check for safety compliance, ensuring everything follows labor laws and avoids accidents. This needs makes monitoring non-negotiable for many businesses.
Monitoring. It is the practice of employer tracking employee activities such as computer, use email location or social media to ensure productivity, security, and compliance. In the Philippines, in that increase with remote work and automation tools post provide COVID-19, especially in BPO and tech sector governance, the Data Privacy Act of 2012 RA 10173, which requires transparency, consistent, and proportionality. Privacy innovation. It can be violate, violate, violate personal data and rights in under the Data Privacy Act, which leads to employees not trusting the company's record and increased stress and moral issue being watched all the times cause anxiety, burnout, and more people quitting from survey in 2024. About 87% of Filipinos say work-related mental health problems come from this. Third, productivity paradox. It might be help short-term output, but it kills creativity and job satisfaction. Challenge in addressing employee monitoring. Balancing privacy and business interests. Ensuring monitoring and professionally without overreach. Legal compliance. Navigating multiple law like the Constitutional and Cybercrime Act, Cyber Act, and specific jurisprudence. Employee awareness. Many workers unaware of rights or how to challenge unlawful practice. Challenges in fixing this balancing privacy and business interests. So monitoring is so fair without going overboard. Then legal compliance, dealing with the law like the Constitutional and Cybercrime Act. But not much law yet. Finally, employee awareness is lot of workers don't know their rights to how to complain like filing with the National Privacy Commission, implementing effective employee and monitoring practice, develop transparent policy, create clear company policy outline monitoring scope, purpose, and employee rights. Example, require informed consent via employee handbooks, NPC guideline for data privacy impact assessment. For practice, start with the developing transparent policy. Make clear company rules on what monitor, why the employee rights. Example, get informed consent through handbook and follow NPC guidelines and data privacy and assessment. Ensure proportionality and training. Limit monitoring to necessary areas. Avoid private space like restroom. Example, conduct regular training on privacy law for managers. Use AI tool ethically in remote setups. Ensure proportionality and training. Limit monitoring to what needed like noise spying in private areas such as restroom. Example, regular training for manager on privacy law and using idols ethically in remote work and provide by Dole. Provide grievance mechanism. Offer channel to employees to report issues such as HR hotline or NPC filing. Example, internal investigation with due process under labor code. Partner with the union for oversight and an unionized workplace. Provide grievance mechanism. Give the channels for employees to report problems like HR hotline or NPC filings. Example, internal investigation with due process from the labor code or working with unions for oversight if the workplace has one. There are unemployed monitoring.
So our next topic is about job displacement. So job displacement is the process of removing employees due to changes in organizational needs. So it can result from automation, restructuring, or downsizing. So in other words, yung job displacement is the involuntarily loss ng employment due to various factors such as yung economic downturns, technological advancement, company restructuring, and yung offshoring. And sa mga nag-observe natin, yung mga displaced workers is often nag-face sila ng mga challenges. Like yung pag-find nila ng new employment, especially if yung skills na meron sila is no longer in demand. So, in the Philippines, yung job displacement is naging more common siya sa mga industries as mas naging modern yung mga industries and nag-adapt tayo sa digital technologies, especially nung pandemic, so nung COVID-19. So, mas na-accelerate yung automation and yung mga remote work trends. So, next slide po. So, ano nga ba ang mga causes ng job displacement? So, first one is the economic factors. So, dito is yung economic recessions, industry declines, or yung company closures na nagli-lead sa mga layoffs. So, ano nga may mga example? So, we have the pandemic-induced recession noong 2020, like what I said earlier. So, thousands of workers from tourism and yung hospitality and transport sectors is nawalan sila ng mga trabaho, lalo na nung nag-lockdown. And another example is the inflation and business closures. So, yung mga small and medium enterprises, yung mga tinatawag SMEs which nagme-make up na mga 99% of Philippine businesses is na-downsize or nag-shutdown sila due to rising operational costs. So, next slide po. So, another cause of job displacement is the technological changes. So, yung gaya na nabanggit kanina, yung automation, digitization, and technological advancement is yung mga nagre-render ng certain jobs na magiging obsolete. So, ano nga ba mga example? So, one example is automation in manufacturing. So, in cities like Cavite and Laguna, which is yung mga industrial zones, so yung mga companies nila is nag-use na ngayon ng mga robotic arms and yung mga automated systems for assembly. So, nare-reduce na yung demand for manual labor. So, another example is the digitalization in BPOs. So, yung rise ng AI-powered chatbots and yung voice recognition system is na-automate na yung entry-level customer service roles and na-displace na yung mga actual na human call center agents. So, another example is the cashless and online services. So, yung mga ginagamit natin like automated teller machines and yung mga e-wallets like GCash and Maya. And yung mga online bankings na nag-reduce na yung for the traditional teller jobs. And another example, next slide po, for the causes of job displacement is the restructuring. So, yung mga organizational is nag-undergo sila ng mga restructuring, mergers, or acquisitions na nag-result ng mga job eliminations. So, for example, yung mga mergers in telecommunications, such as yung PLDT and SMART, and then sa government rationalization programs. So, yung some public agency is nag-i-streamline or nag-merge na sila ng function na nag-lead sa reassignments or early retirements sa mga employees nila. And next slide po. So, another cause is the offshoring. So, ito naman is when we move jobs to other countries with lower labor costs resulting in domestic job losses. So, ang mga example nito is yung mga BPO dynamics and kung saan yung Philippines is nag-gain tayo ng BPO jobs from abroad pero nalulose natin yung mga IT or back office roles for cheaper hub like yung sa India or Vietnam. And another example is the OFW returnees. So, nagkakos ito ng economic downturns abroad such as yung sa Middle East, yung oil collapse and oil price collapse and then result ito na madi-displace yung mga OFW natin. So, next slide. So, what are the impact of job displacement? So, first one is the financial hardships. So, nagkakos ng financial hardships for displaced workers and their families due to loss of income. And then, another is the skill mismatch. So, nagli-lead to sa skill mismatch ng mga displaced workers na baka wala sila ng mga skills na required for the available jobs na meron lang sa bansa natin. And lastly is the economic cost. So, na-increase yung economic cost related to unemployment benefits such as yung mga retraining programs and na-reduce yung mga consumer spending. So, next slide po. So, ano nga ba yung mga challenges of addressing the job displacement? So, First one is the retraining. So, nagpo-provide ng effective retraining programs to help displaced workers acquire new skills and find new employment. And another is job matching. So, i-match natin yung mga displaced workers with available job opportunities that align with their skills and experience. And lastly is yung mga support services. So, nag-offer tayo ng comprehensive support services such as yung mga career counseling and job placement assistance. So, next slide po. So, ano nga ba yung mga effective na implementation when it comes to job displacement practices? So, first one is to develop retraining programs. So, ito yung mag-create or mag-fund ng mga retraining programs to help yung mga displaced workers na mag-acquire ng mga new skills. So, example dito is meron tayong TESDA, Special Training for Employment Program, so STEP, na nagpo-provide ng skills training with starter toolkits for displaced workers. And another example is the DOLES TUPAD program, which nag-offer naman ng short-term community employment while waiting for re-employment. So, next slide po. So, another is the enhanced job matching. So, ini-improve natin yung job matching services to connect displaced workers with suitable job opportunities. Like yung sa DOLES Field Job Net and National Skills Registry Systems or NSRS na nag-help ng mga mag-match ng mga job seekers with available roles. And then, sa mga LGU natin, na nagkakandak naman ng mga job fairs and nakikipag-partner sa mga private industries for on-the-spot hiring. So, next slide po. So, we have the provide support services naman kung saan nag-offer ng comprehensive support services including yung mga career counseling, job placement assistance, and financial aid. So, next slide po. And then, lastly, is to promote yung economic diversification o ina-encourage natin yung mga economic diversification to reduce yung impact ng mga industry-specific job displacement. So, sa pamamagitan ng first, pag ina-encourage natin ng growth ng mga digital entrepreneurship and then yung renewable energy as well as yung mga agri-tech industries to create yung new employment avenues. And then, second one is kapag sinusupport ang mga micro, small, and medium enterprises such as or yung mga tinatawag nating MSMEs through DTI's negosyo centers. So, in order natin na ma-address natin yung mga job displacement through cooperation between government, industry, and educational institutions. So, next slide po. So, for the next topic, we have the reskilling. So, reskilling is the process of teaching an employee new skills to improve proficiency in their current job or move into an advanced position. So, it is important to note na different yung reskilling sa retraining because ang retraining is yung pag-process na introduce or nag-introduce tayo prior dun sa skill na meron yung employee na yon. Well, yung reskilling is kapag tiniteach natin sila ng new skills na wala pa sa kanila. So, reskilling is important in the workplace with the constant change of ongoing technological advancements such as nga yung mga rise ng AI and then mga digitalized transactions na. So, reskilling doesn't necessarily mean na yung employee is nag-transition siya from one department to another because ang reskilling is, ang ginagawa niya lang is susupplement natin yung employee with new skills to improve performance in their current position. So, nag-open din to ng opportunities for promotion. So, next slide po. So, why is reskilling important? So, reskilling is valuable because very few jobs, especially in office and productivity jobs, is bihirang-bihira or rare yung nagre-remain sila ng static or walang changes. Kasi, few professionals use only yung mga same initial skills na meron sila na hindi na sila nag-a-add o hindi na sila nag-train for another set of skills. So, first importance is the technological acceleration. So, gaya ng kanina is the rise of AI, data analytics, and automation in industries such as banking, manufacturing, and education is nagde-demand sila ng new skill sets. So, for example, yung mga bank clerks, kailangan nila ng mga digital transactions. So, doon na nahandle lahat. And for example, sa mga cybersecurity concerns, ganyan, instead na magba-manual bookkeeping pa sila. So, the pace of technology change is accelerating and automation threaten jobs. So workers must adapt and learn new skills to stay relevant in the workforce. So next slide. So another is the workforce retention. So, Filipino companies find it more cost-effective to reskill yung mga loyal employees na meron sila than to hire yung mga new ones, especially since merong talent shortages in tech-related fields. So, as the workforce ages and retires, those employees take skills with them that younger employees do not have, such as yung legacy system skills. So, for example, may mga firm pa rin na nag-use ng mga mainframe application na gumagamit ng mga decades-old na programming languages such as yung COBOL. And as yung mga programming na yun is nag-retire, yung mga remaining staff nila is kailangan aralin din yung mga skills na meron yun since yun yung ginagamit ng system nila. So, next slide. So we also have the global competition. So reskilling enables Filipino workers to remain globally competitive, whether working abroad or on international remote jobs. So in other words, yung reskilling is like cultural training na rin siya. Kasi as global economy become increasingly interconnected, mga workers is kailangan din nila ma-learn to embrace in different cultures and working environments na meron. So, next slide. So, ano nga ba yung mga example ng reskilling programs in the Philippines? So, we have the TESDA online program. So, ito yung nag-offer ng free online courses on ICT, healthcare, electronics, and tourism to help Filipino gain new skills. And we also have the DICT Digital Jobs PH programs. So, ito naman yung mga nag-helps for rural workers and freelancers na ma-develop yung kanilang digital literacy and online entrepreneurship skills. So, next slide po. And we also have the BPO company training programs. So, companies like yung Accentures and Concentrix, sila yung mga nagpo-provide ng mga AI or data analytics training for employees na mga nag-shift from voice to non-voice roles. And we also have the Construction Industry Authority of the Philippines or CIAP, which is nag-offer ng upskilling for displaced construction workers affected by automation and project slowdowns. And we also have the LGU-sponsored training centers. Next slide po. In which cities like in Davao, Cebu, and Quezon City is info-fund nila yung mga reskilling for local residents, especially yung mga displaced workers by modernization projects. So, next slide po. So, ano nga ba yung mga key benefits when it comes to reskilling for organizations? So, first one is the improved productivity. So, yung mga reskilled employees nila is syempre mas magpa-perform yan ng higher value tasks and mas nai-improve yung efficiency ng performance nila. And another is the stronger retention. Since yung reskilling is mabibuild yung employee loyalty and na mare-reduce nila yung turnover costs na meron. And another is the future-proof workforce. So, yung mga organization is nag-i-stay resilient sila against economic or technological disruptions. And lastly is the enhanced reputation. So, yung mga companies is nag-invest sila sa workers' growth to attract yung better talent. Well, for employees, next slide po, ano nga ba yung mga key benefits ng reskilling? So, first is the job security. So, syempre yung mga workers na yon is makagain sila ng confidence knowing na nakaka-adapt sila sa change na meron. And syempre, the career growth since new skills open opportunities for promotion and role expansion. And another is the increased earning potential since skilled worker na sila, mas nagko-command or mas nagda-demand yun ng higher pay. And adaptability, so ito yung nag-enable ng transition to emerging sectors such as lang fintech, e-commerce, and renewable energy. So, next slide po. So, ano nga ba yung mga challenges when it comes to implementing reskilling? So, first is the digital divide. So, many rural areas lack reliable internet for online learning and the financial barriers in which some workers cannot afford to take unpaid time off para mag-training. And another is the low awareness. So, maraming displaced workers ang nagre-remain na unaware sila sa mga TESDA or mga DOLE programs. And another is the rapid technological shifts kung saan yung mga skills is nagiging outdated kaysa dun sa mga tinuturo sa training programs. So, job displacement and reskilling is like two sides ng the same coin. Kasi as the Philippine economy becomes more digitized and interconnected, yung ability ng mga workers to adapt learn and reskill is mag-determine ng national competitiveness. And syempre, yung mga government agencies, schools, and private industries must collaborate to build an inclusive reschooling ecosystem so that one that not only replaces lost jobs but also prepares Filipinos for the opportunities of the future. So, next topic po is about universal basic income. So, Hazel.
Universal Basic Income. Next slide. What is Universal Basic Income or UBI? Universal Basic Income is proposes a financial system where the government grants every adult citizen a set amount of money regularly, regardless of their employment status. And it is defined as a transfer that is provided universally, unconditionally, and in cash. It holds an attractive promise of a change across many lines. This includes coverage potential, fairness in social contract, power relations in labor markets, and gender equity among the others. Universal basic income, this ambitious concept aims to alleviate poverty and may act as a safety net as automation changes the workforce. Modern supporters see universal basic income as a means to ensure financial security amidst technological advancement. And UBI, it is defined as a universal, conditional, and cash-based transfer that aims to ensure that everyone has access to basic financial security. UBI holds great potential to transform societies by addressing several key issues, including economics and equality, fairness in social system, labor market, power dynamics, and gender equity. Next slide. The historical background of universal basic income. Early ideas in the late 18th century, Thomas Paine proposed a citizen dividend funded by taxes on landowners. And in modern thinkers, in the 20th century, economics such as Newton Friedman proposed a negative income tax as a simpler, welfare alternative, while civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. viewed guaranteed income as a path to ending poverty. And for 21st century, the idea regained interest due to technological advancement and global inequality. Pilot programs have been conducted in countries such as Finland, Canada, Kenya, and the United States to explore how UBI affects employment, well-being, and productivity. Next. Universal basic income in addressing economic inequality. Economic inequality has reached alarming levels with a small elite accumulating unprecedented wealth while millions struggle to make ends meet. UBI serves as a powerful tool to redistribute wealth and reduce inequality by ensuring that everyone has access to basic standards of living. And for promoting social justice, UBI embodies principles of social justice by recognizing the inherent dignity and worth of every individual. By guaranteeing a minimum income floor, UBI affirms people's rights to live with dignity, free from the constant threat of poverty and distribution. Next. Encouraging innovation and entrepreneurship. Contrary to fears of this sensitive rising work, UBI has been shown to stimulate entrepreneurship, creativity, and innovation. By providing financial cushions, UBI enables individuals to take risks, pursue higher education, start business, and engage in meaningful work that aligns with their interests and passion. This entrepreneurial spirit fuels economic growth and fosters a cultural innovation. Next. Objective of universal basic income. First is to eliminate poverty. By providing every individual with a minimum income, UBI ensures that all citizens can meet their basic needs. And number 2 is the reduce inequality. It aids the bridge the gap between rich and poor, promoting a fairer distribution of wealth. Number 3, to simplify welfare system. UBI can replace complex and overlapping social welfare programs with one straightforward
payment. Number 4, to support workers in the age of automation. As a technology replaces certain jobs, UBI
offers financial stability during an employment or job transition. And the number 5, to promote freedom and dignity. It allows individuals to pursue education, caregiving, and creative work without being trapped in poverty. Next. Advantages of universal basic income. Number 1 is reduction of poverty and inequality. UBI ensures a financial safety net for everyone, reducing hunger and homelessness. And number 2,
simplified welfare administration. It eliminates the bureaucratic complexity of traditional welfare system.
It reducing costs and corruption. And for advantages is number 3, economic stimulation. When citizens have more money to spend, demand for goods and services increases, boosting local economies. Number 4.
Next.
Number 4 is job flexibility and innovation. Individuals may pursue part-time work, education, or entrepreneurship without fearing income loss. And number 5 is improve mental health and well-being. Financial stability can lead to lower stress level and better overall quality of life. And number 6 is encourages gender equality. UBI benefits unpaid caregivers, often women who do not earn regularly income from formal deployment. Next.
Disadvantages of universal basic income. Number 1 is high implementation cost. Funding a nationwide
UBI program could be extremely expensive, requiring higher taxes or budget cuts in other sectors. And number 2, potential inflation. With more money in circulation, prices of goods and services might rise, reducing the real value of UBI. And number 3, work disincentive concerns. Some critics argue that people might stop working or reduce their efforts if they receive money unconditionally. Number 4, uniform payments issues. The same amount may not meet living standards equally across the regions with different costs of living. And number 5, political and social resistance. Implementing UBI requires significant political will and public support, which can be difficult to achieve. Next.
Our key takeaways po is universal basic income, your UBI aims to provide every adult with a regular
unconditional sum of money, potentially simplifying social welfare system, and UBI has been proposed as a solution to reduce poverty and support individuals affected by job loss due to automation and AI
advancement.
And also, UBI critics argue that UBI could be financially unsustainable and may discourage workforce participation. Political and public support for UBI remains divided. With our
Ongoing
pilot programs in virus localities testing its feasibility. And last is historically backed by both liberal and conservative thinkers, UBI continues to spur debate over its cost and social impacts. Next.
So now let's talk about career development, which is yung certification programs, formal education, and mentorship. Next page po. So what is certification programs? Certification programs are specialized training courses that verify a person's skills or knowledge in a specific field. They are offered by professional organizations, schools, or online platforms. They are usually require passing an exam or completing project to earn. So, in short words, certification program is a formal type of training that includes an assessment or exam to earn a certificate. Next page po. So, ano nga ba yung mga importance ng certification programs? It improves career opportunities and job readiness, show employers you have verified skills and commitment, help you stay updated with industry trends, and last, boost confidence and credibility in your field. Next page po. So, eto naman po yung mga examples ng certification programs. Sa IT industry naman po, ang example po nito is yung CompTIA, Cisco or CCNA, Microsoft, Google IT support. Sa business and management industry naman, project management, professional, or PMP, Six Sigma, and digital marketing. Sa healthcare industry naman, basic life support, BLS, medical coding, and nursing aid training. And sa education industry, meron tayong PE, SOL, Teacher Certification Program. And last yung sa creative fields, meron tayong Adobe Certified Professional and Graphic Design courses. So, ito naman yung mga benefits ng pagiging certified ng isang tao. So, magkakagain siya ng special knowledge and practical skills. Next is yung increase your chance for promotion or higher salary. Next is build a stronger resume or portfolio. And last, network with professional experts in your fields. Next po. So, let's talk about naman sa formal education. Formal education is essential in career development because it provides structured learning, recognized qualification, and the foundational knowledge needed for professional growth, and it builds both technical abilities and critical thinking. So, formal educations give us structured learning, qualification, and the basic knowledge we need for our future jobs. It builds also both technical skills and critical thinking. So now let's talk about naman sa importance ng formal education. First is yung foundation of knowledge, gives theoretical and practical understanding. Next is employment requirement. Many careers require formal credentials. Third is yung skill development. It can enhance communication, leadership, and problem solving. And last, pathway to higher learning, which leads to advanced studies and specialization. So it is important that because it gives us a strong foundation of knowledge, maraming jobs na require educational na credentials. It can also improve our communication and problem solving skills, and last, it leads to higher learning and specialization. Next po.
So let's proceed po sa examples of formal education. Sa mga undergraduate degrees po, we have nursing, IT, and engineering. While sa graduate education, we have master's and doctoral studies or master's degree or doctor degree. Sa continuing education po, may short courses and reskilling program. Next po. So, let's proceed po sa benefits of formal education. Sa credibility po, having a degree or diploma or certifications makes employers trust your skills and knowledge. So it shows that you are qualified and serious about your professions. Sa career opportunities naman po, certifications can help you qualify for better and higher paying jobs because many companies prefer or require them for specific roles. Sa professional growth naman po, they can support your career adjustment by helping you gain the skills and recognition needed for promotion or leadership positions. And last, adaptability po. Certification programs often update with the latest trends and technologies, helping you stay prepared for changes in your field in the Next po. Mentorship. Mentorship is a relationship where a more experienced individual provides a guidance, support, and advice to someone less experienced. So, mentorship po, it supports or help them to learn, grow, and achieve their goals. As a mentor, you share your knowledge, give advice, and encourage them to develop their skills and confidence. Next po, importance of mentorship. Number 1, builds confidence. Number 2, develops communication and leadership skills. Number 3, provides guidance and decision making. Number 4, helps in setting and reaching career goals. Next po. The benefits of mentorship. Access to practical knowledge. Gain hands-on skills used in real work settings. Number 2, networking and career connection. Meet professionals who can help in your career. Number 3, preparation for promotions and responsibilities. Get ready for higher roles and new tasks. Number 4, personal and professional growth. Improve confidence, skills, and career development. Next po. Examples of mentorship. Senior employees guiding new workers, teachers advising students, industry professional coaching beginners, peer-to-peer support. And in conclusion po, certification programs, formal education, and mentorship all play vital roles in personal professional development. Formal education provides the foundation knowledge and skills needed for a career. Certification program enhance specific expertise and validate professional competence. And last, mentorship offers personalized guidance and real-world insights. Together, these three pathways helps individual build confidence, advance in their careers, and adapt to the ever-changing demands of the workplace. Lang.